am in Caistor St Edmund, south of Norwich. The clue is in the name. Hello and welcome to the ride. Search of the Romans in Norfolk. Caistor is derived from an Anglo-Saxon word for Roman camp or town. And the other part of the name is there up ahead. The Church of St Edmund in the village of Caistor St Edmund. Well, not exactly in the village. For historical reasons, the medieval church is some way apart from its village. But the name suggests the Romans had a presence here. This time the clues are in the church itself. Medieval though this church very obviously is, some of the brick and ceramic tiles mixed in amongst the flint, stone and mortar is in fact Roman. There are more Roman tiles. Why? Because the church was built within the ground plan of an important Roman town. The bricks and tiles would have been lying all around here. Looking back at the church, I'm now turning to walk along the northern ramparts of a defensive wall that went right around the rectangular ground plan of the town, broadly occupying the field to my left. Dropping down from the ramparts, and looking back up, there's part of the wall. That rubble and mortar would have been faced with cut stone. And behind that wall lay the Roman town, known to the Romans as Venta Icenorum. The Romans aside, it was largely occupied by people of the Iceni tribe, made famous by the revolt led by Queen Boadicea. It boasted an amphitheatre, several temples, bathhouses, a town hall and a central public forum. There is evidence that it was supplied with running water. And there are remnants of the old Roman wall all around the perimeter of the field. But being relatively near the coast, this town needed protection from raiding Anglo-Saxons, which is why the walls were built. Here's more evidence of the wall on the west side. You can see the church there, with the Roman defences clearly visible on the south side. Time now to move on in search of more Roman Norfolk. Day 2, and I leave my caravan lodgings, heading for the nearby village of Burgh Castle, south of Great Yarmouth. Why the name? That will become very apparent shortly. But starting with a church again, this time a typically East Anglian round towered one. Again, bits of Roman brick and tile are found in the medieval construction. Where did it come from this time? Here's the source, a majestic Roman fort, surprising and breathtaking as it rises up in the landscape. Nearly 2,000 years old and so much of it left. Built by the Romans in the 3rd century and known as a Saxon shore fort. One in a chain of coastal forts along what the Romans knew as the Saxon shore, from the Wash down around the east and south coast of England. They were a defence against Anglo-Saxon seaborne raiders. The fort was abandoned just over 100 years after it was constructed. 3 of its imposing stone walls survive, almost to their original height, making this one of the best preserved Roman monuments in Britain. There's one wall to the right, a second straight ahead, one of the 4 walls, which would have been ahead of me now, collapsed into the surrounding marshes centuries ago. And there's the remaining 3rd wall. As we complete the rectangle. This is a mighty monument to Roman rule in Britain. Think of the time and effort that went into constructing this monster of a fort. Onward now to the next evidence of Romans in Norfolk. Again, the clue's in the name, Caistor, Saxon for Roman camp. I'm just leaving the A149, heading into Caistor-on-Sea, north of Great Yarmouth. Another in the chain of 3rd century Saxon shore forts built by the Romans. This small part, a fragment in fact, of the fort defences and a building were revealed in the 1950s during an archaeological dig. Clues as to what people ate were provided by finds of charred grain, fish bones, over 10,000 oyster shells, and the bones of cows, hares, foxes, badgers and ducks. We might just make out the channels of a hypercaust, the system of central heating that circulates hot air below the floor of a room. The floor was raised up on those brick piles, and the hot air passed beneath the floor. And there you have it. As good an excuse for a couple of days riding in the sunshine as there could be. Riding back in time to 2 Roman forts and one of the towns they were built to protect. I hope you've enjoyed the ride too. If so, please consider a like, subscribe, and perhaps even share. I'll then let you know when I'm next out and about. For now, I'm done.